Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Doing Business in Bentonville. My name is Andy Wilson. I'm your host today. I have a co-host with me today, Michael Grain. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Andy. Pleasure to be here.
It is so good to have you. Michael, this is our second podcast together.
Yeah, except I was on the other end before. You asked me all the tough questions. Now I get to ask questions.
I did, and now you're going to ask a lot of questions, and again, it's so great to have you joining us today. Our special guest today is Tom Muccio. Tom, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Oh, we connected. We worked together at Walmart, worked together at the Soderquist Center.
Oh, my.
And it's been too long since we've had this gap, but I have really enjoyed your podcast. You've done a great job with these, and I'm real honored to be on here with you.
Well, you're very kind, but it is an honor to sit across from you again and visit with you. I will tell you all this something. We have got such a great podcast today because we're going to dive into so much history. But the great thing about what's going to happen today is the leadership lessons that this man's going to share with us across this generation of learning that he has had. And you want to lean into this podcast today because, in fact, you know what? You want to keep it and take some notes and apply some of this learning you're going to get today. So, Tom, again, thank you for being here. It's so great. Let's dive into this straight away. Because we just need to get into it, Michael, because there's so much here, as I said already. So let's do it. So, Tom, talk about P&G. Let's go before 1987, okay? Talk about Procter & Gamble.
Okay, well, let me give you just a little framework of what was happening in the retail industry, because that makes it relative. There weren't any national accounts except for Sears and Penny's, and Kmart was coming up. But Sears and Penny's didn't sell consumer products. Kmart was a 5 and 10 cent store, grew into Kmart. And then at the same time, you had the other 5 and 10 cent store, Woolworths, Ben Franklin. They were fading away. But you had these new discounters that were coming up, like Walmart and Target, other regional club stores were just starting. Super centers were just starting. But at the time, the bulk of the consumer products companies' business went through grocery stores. And you had, at those again, you had no national company at that point in time. You had multi-regional chains, and then you had independents that were serviced by either IGA or Super Value. So in 87, we were dealing with a very fragmented retail market, but one that was in huge transition. So, and at that time, so that was the background. P&G was the number one consumer product company in the world, and then obviously in the U.S. We were organized in 8 different product divisions, and each one of those divisions were autonomous. I mean, they were separate from each other. All the invoices said Procter & Gamble, but we were really 8 faces to our retail customers, which was very confusing and frustrating because the terms weren't always the same, but yet that's the way we went to market. In fact, I had a colleague who said P&G was a Mercedes that we broke up into 8 bicycles.
I like that.
And each of these consumer product divisions had their own retail sales force of about 500 people. So 8 times 5, and we were calling on almost every retail outlet in the U.S. So I describe it as we had the biggest infantry in the consumer product retail landscape.
Yeah. Now, Tom, what was your role during this time that you're describing?
Well, I was the national sales manager of the food division.
Okay.
And so I had, responsibility for the 500 people that were selling the food products.
And you lived in Cincinnati. I got you at the home office, right? The home office of Procter & Gamble.
Yep.
One of the largest consumer product companies in the world,
right, at
this time. And you guys were looking at a little company called Walmart, right?
Well, they weren't so little, but the issue was, at P&G, our philosophy was, we'll do consumer research to find out what people want in products. We'll do product development and manufacturing to create superior products. Then we will create the market by our advertising.
Okay.
And then we will control the in-store conditions
Right.
through this massive sales organization.
So, all right. So you're in Cincinnati, and then somewhere around 1987, you were asked to take on a major project for P&G.
Yep.
What was that, and unpack that for us, okay?
Well, at this time, also just to let you know, we considered retailers to be a convenient pickup point for a product. They weren't really.
Well, how times have changed, right?
Our philosophy is we'll create the product and the demand. You do what we tell you to do, and you'll just enjoy the profit.
Okay, all right.
So
Now, wait a minute.
Not to take you off here, but I believe at one point in time, Mr. Sam Walton actually gave us an award that our CEO wouldn't even accept, correct?
Well, yeah, that comes a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
This is so interesting. I mean, tell you, all of us have worked at Walmart, right? And you both at Procter & Gamble. I just got to see Procter & Gamble from the outside, which wasn't really pretty at times. And we'll get into that anyway. So, but here we are. You are about to ask to do something that Procter & Gamble's never done.
Yeah.
I mean, it was brand new.
Right.
It was probably scary for you, all of you, because you were about to look into this retailer that was growing and had huge plans to do what they've done today. And what blows my mind is that, Michael, last year they did $100 billion in e-commerce. Now, so here we are. So Tom, how did it feel? How did it happen? Describe us this. When you were asked to do this in 1987, describe that to us so we know how you felt. Okay? Who asked you, and how did it feel? So walk us through that.
Yeah. Well, we had a new vice president of sales, and he said, "I don't understand why why our relationship with our customers is so." He had come from the Philippines.
Okay.
So why is it so adversarial? Why is it so transactional? This doesn't make any sense to me. We should be working together.
He's talking about P&G and
retailers, but Walmart in specific. So he said, "Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you out of the food division. I'm going to put you in charge of a multifunctional design team, and this is in 86, 87, and you're going to tell us how we should go to market successfully with our customers in the year 2000. That's what your charge is."
Okay. So Tom, here you are. You've been given a challenge, and no challenge no challenge you've ever had at Procter & Gamble, right? All right. So what did you do? Talk us through that.
Well, we had this multifunctional team, and we would get together, and we said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at study P&G. We're going to look at our strengths and our gaps. We're going to look at our competitors' strengths and gaps. We're going to look at companies in other industries, their strengths, their gaps. We're going to go through every function, and we're going to say, what's the leading edge thinking in this function? Then we're going to put all of that in a bucket, and we're going to then say, here's the way we think we need to go forward. What we were able to do is we were able to get what was called a steering team, which were John Pepper, who was the president of P&G U.S. at the time, and we had representatives from each function but higher up than our team. And we would meet with them every 2 weeks, and we would share, here's what we learned, and here's what we think it means. Now, that didn't mean that they were signing on, but it did force them to dialogue.
Sure.
Because, see, P&G's point of view was, we're winning. Why do we need to be changing?
Yeah.
Just leave it alone.
Right.
And we were missing a lot of things. We weren't really understanding what was happening with technology, and we really didn't focus on understanding what was changing in retailing. And at that time, total quality was a big thing in industry. Edward Deming brought that over from...
Yeah.
And so...
Ford and other companies were using it. Yeah.
How could you do systemic improvement if you didn't include your customers? So those were some of the things which we were considering. Then we came back with a recommendation. the recommendation was we need to go to our customers multifunctionally. We need to go as P&G, but without losing the expertise we have on the categories and the brands. But systemically, we need to be one company so that it works for our customers. We need to co-locate with our customers, and we need to figure out how we can integrate systems between the two. Now, I mean, I remember making that presentation, and the level of support I got from the C-suite was you could have put them all in the mid-size car and still had room for luggage. Okay, and so people said, "Isn't that nice?" One this cute little group did, and they put it off to the side. But we do have what we were smart enough to do, because our advertising department, they knew how to do things like focus groups, which we didn't know how to do in sales. Well, they did this focus group of the people actually doing the work between P&G and Walmart, which clearly demonstrated how broken the relationship was, and that was something that was very instrumental going forward.
Wow.
And just so you know, for the audience, we actually have saved that. And we're going to go ahead and play that now and let you guys see the relationship between P&G and Walmart in 1987-88. So we're going to play that.
We're not on net pricing with Procter & Gamble on most items. And we continually have accounting problems, not to mention all of our confusion trying to keep up with the myriad of deals that are going on.
We pretty much know the items are going to sell. It's just all the other little things that are the distractions.
My secretary will spend probably a half a day making appointments for one set of POs to all 9 DCs.
Found that a couple of the Walmart warehouses now are only able to schedule so many appointments at one time, and then you have to call back the next day to schedule the balance of them.
I've got a girl that spends 2 days a week doing nothing except Cuban Procter & Gamble truckloads.
I think there's a lot of bugs we need to work out of this fast response program.
At one time, I remember 6 separate appointment times for one truck. And, you know, at the other end, the distribution centers, they're getting a little less happy every time we call.
As large companies, I think we're convinced if we don't do business in a complicated manner, we're not doing it right.
You could spend your time on trying to figure out how to sell more product instead of whether you interpreted the deal sheet properly.
Quicker decisions. Let's not go up and down the ladder 4 times. Let's do it once.
And they need to give us a chance to do the things that we can do those.
Just because we've never done it before doesn't mean that we couldn't do it in the future.
So, Tom, I remember those days very well. We remember that P&G was what's nothing broken here, we're growing sales, what's the problem, et cetera. Meanwhile, people like us on the team were getting beat up every single day.
Right.
Summarize for us kind of the working relationship between P&G and Walmart back in 1987, 88 when we started.
Well, Sam would make the comment that if he wanted to punish one of his buyers, he'd put him on the P&G business. Honest to God, true quote. But Sam was so desperate because we were the largest supplier. He said, I've got to find a way to get this relationship working with P&G. So Walmart had this prestigious Vendor of the Year award. So he said to buyers, does anybody come up with anything we could give P&G credit for? Someone came up with something. So Sam was going to give us the Vendor of the Year. He calls our CEO, but
Who was that? Who's the CEO?
John Smale was the CEO at the time.
All right.
And was later a huge supporter and everything. But at the time, his administrator wouldn't put Sam through. Our CEO didn't talk with customers, and she didn't know who Sam Walton was. So they transferred him around to the various national sales managers in the 8th division. Finally, he got frustrated and gave the award to somebody else. But that's in the lore. And John Smale still laughs about, or when he was still alive, he laughed about that as a real thing that happened.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I think that, your point is on the video was how, Walmart was very honest, and the individuals at Walmart, and that's what I love about the thing I loved about the video, my takeaway on this, Michael, was that, Walmart was honest. P&G was honest. And that's critical of getting to solving the issues.
Yeah.
It's the honesty that took place.
Honesty was with each other. We didn't see the world the same way. The cultures were different, but the values were the same. And the values being the same of the two companies really allowed us to make terrific progress as we were able to go forward on this. So, it was amazing. What was able to happen when we were honest. We had two principles that we established. One was, one of them was, it doesn't matter who is right. It's more important to do what's right, and let's make sure we understand what we're dealing with, so that we're making decisions based on facts, not on emotions and past history.
That
put the moose on the table.
Well, guys, that principle is so true today. I mean, it's still so true today. It's doing what's right, and now we would probably add not only what's right, but what's right for the customer. Because now we're all so focused on the customer today. And Sam I give credit to Sam on that, Michael. He taught us that at Walmart.
Right.
Every time he got in front of us, he said it. Wasn't it? So what else, Mike?
And the other thing that we talked about all the time was, what are the issues, not the positions. Because it was real easy to say, here's our policy, or here's the way we do that. And we started out, both Walmart and P&G, thinking the other company would be better if they did it our way. And we tried to convince each other why that was the best way. But then when we would back up and say, what's the issue we're trying to solve, not our position, it was much easier to then take. The solutions weren't the P&G way, they weren't the Walmart. There were some blend of the two when we're really focused on the issue.
Right.
There was a lot of change going on, and I was still pretty green in my career. But Tom, you had salespeople that you were flying in for all different parts of the world, covering different sectors, who are now moving their families to Northwest Arkansas. You had finance people, you had IT people, you had logistics, customer service people, you have store operations. You basically were trying to build something new and completely change how P&G went to market with a customer that was pretty frustrated with their relationship. So where did you start? How did you get started?
The fact is that we realized that the relationship as we started was being driven by a buyer and a salesperson. And the rest of the company, these had talent in both these companies. They weren't anywhere in the relationship at all. But yet we needed all those functions in order to make decisions in each of the companies. So we started out by, the first thing we had was the two CEOs were very courageous. This was not a popular idea. This was not an idea. P&G didn't want to do this, didn't think it would work. And Walmart senior executive didn't think P&G would ever change. So why even bother? Okay? So we started off with that support, which was terrific. Then we established what we called as a multifunctional mirror team. We took people from each of the two companies that had the same, so IT to IT, finance to finance, and we formed, that was our leadership team, that mirror team, mirror functions.
I like that.
And that then allowed us to start to get better understanding. Well, why do you do this at P&G? What's the benefit? Why do you do this at Walmart? So we found out we really didn't know each other very well. I mean, even vocabulary. We called Walmart was an account. Well, wait a minute. I have an account at the bank, but I'm a customer. When you say customer, it's a totally different impression. They called us vendors. Made me laugh because I thought of the vending machine in my fraternity where you put your money in, have the forearm shiver, and sometimes you get your drink and your money back. So, I mean, but anyhow, and then with this mirror team, what we did is we did co-design. We said if we were, because Sam said to us, he said, if you thought of my stores as an extension of your company, we would do business entirely differently. So that became the mantra. If we were one company, what would we do differently? So we called it the one company model. So this mirror team, which think of us as like a board of directors, we said, okay, if we were one company, what would we do differently? And so we came up with a joint vision, a joint mission, shared strategies, shared objectives that would play in both companies. So you could go down to our objectives and things we're working on. Mm-hmm. It wasn't one-sided at all. Both companies wanted to improve profitability. They wanted to improve market share. They wanted to simplify, so on and so, drive out costs that aren't adding value. Then we started sharing data. We have data. Walmart had data. You put it together, it was magic, the things that appeared that we could do. And then from that, we started testing various theories that we had. Mm-hmm. And then if they worked, we would expand them. If they didn't, we would say, did that not work because it was a bad idea, or did that not work because we didn't do it right? Mm-hmm. And if it was still believed it was a good idea, we'd try it a different way. That was Walmart, try it, do it, fix it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we measured everything. Anything that was important in Walmart, that was part of the measurement. Anything that was important at P&G. So we didn't want to have any unintended consequences. And we knew we were going to have to do a lot of internal selling back to our constituents.
Right.
And so I wanted to be able to, if it was cash flow, if it was inventory turn, whatever it happened to be, we measured everything.
Right.
And that allowed us to do the internal selling to enroll more and more people, to give us more and more rope to make this thing work.
Wow. That's excellent. I mean, that process that you developed, that communication, that learning, those values or principles are all the same. Tom, what you just laid out is success steps for most companies.
Yes.
I mean, that's a powerful presentation right there, Michael. I will tell you. So, Tom, now, that was still in the late 80s, right? All this was taking place. It was just the timeline. So,
right.
Because they gave you several years to work on this. Right? So where were you in that timeline of what you just described that you all built together?
Well, this was in 89. The design team was like about 18 months before then.
All right.
And then when the two CEOs got together and said they got together at a total quality meeting. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the total quality meeting, Sam stood up and said to P&G CEO John Smale, "Let's do this." John said, "Let's do what, Sam?" He said, "Let's do this total quality between our two companies."
Wow.
And John said, "I'll get back to you." Well, we were the only recommendation going. So they said, "Let's bring out this we'll try it for a year. It won't work, but at least we'll get credit for trying something new."
Right. Wow.
So that was, both the Walmart group, the poor Walmart group, as you know, this was extra work for them. Mm-hmm. They still had their regular day job.
Right.
We were dedicated because we came and we were going to be working just on the Walmart business, but they were doing their functional stuff and then doing this on top.
Mm. Wow. That is so powerful. And I hope, one of the things I hope our listeners and viewers will get from this is what you guys are going to get into the results here in a moment and get into some of that. But just the background that you've done, you set that up so well, and the initiatives. Is there any other issues or organizational structure that you want to talk about before we get into results? Anything else you want to capture there?
Just to show you how we didn't understand each other. We didn't really understand how the stores worked. The whole operations, your area was brand new to us.
Okay.
How powerful we didn't really understand that. Right. Walmart didn't understand the difference between commodity products and superior products. So we would go to Cincinnati. They would see the labs. They would see all the. Right. They would take us in the stores, and initially everybody who worked in our team worked 3 days in a Walmart store, in everything from night receiving to stocking shelves to front end, so that we could understand better Walmart. So there was a lot of learning and a lot of openness, but it was very, very different and very strange. Right. Here I am. I'm in the advertising department. We don't talk to customers to start with. Now you put me down here to work with a customer, and my career is on the line. And then you put me in a store for 3 days before I can even do that work.
Great story.
I'm going to ask you to tell a story here in a second.
This is so great.
Tell you a story because two things came real evident. Number one, Walmart was not our customer. What we realized is the person that bought Todd in Walmart was our customer. We changed that perspective.
Yeah.
It was no longer an argument between us, but what's the right thing for them. But I'll never remember our finance manager, Kathy Blair, after she walked the store with us. We all went, oh, that was interesting. And she goes, I got it. Remember what her quote was?
Yeah.
What was her
She said
quote?
their stores are profit centers.
And we went, so? So? What's that?
So we spent this time down here, and we would meet at night and review what we heard. And she said it 10 minutes later, their stores are profit centers. I said, we got it, Kathy. See, it's on the script. 5 minutes later, she said, you don't understand. Their stores are profit centers. I said, I'm getting a little cranky, Kathy. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to explain it.
Yeah.
She said, we send our money to Walmart as bill back. We don't send it off invoice. So if we give a $2 allowance bill back, it goes to the buyer's account, and the store gets billed at the regular price, but has to sell it at this lower price, which makes it a negative margin for the store. Even though the company's getting, if my competitor has an allowance of half that size, it off invoice, they look better in store for merchandising because it's got a higher margin. So then I said, okay, well then we're going to ask them what happens to those $2. And they said, well, that goes in the buyer's account. We can use it however we want. And I said, theoretically, then you could use that on our competition? Yes. I mean, talk about opening eyes. And we didn't want to do off invoice because we didn't trust our customers. We wanted to prove, if you're going to earn the money, we want to have proof that you earn, then we'll give you the money.
Yeah.
So I used to laugh that we had a relationship that the legal departments were owning. Yeah. We wanted you to perform twice for the money, and you wanted the money without doing anything.
So we did it as a test. We did it as a test. He looks at me and goes, Mike, can we do that? I go, yeah. For 6 months, we ran all of our allowances, not a bill back, which basically when the buyers opened to buy, it went directly to the store's P&L.
Yeah.
Directly to the store P&L. We did it for 6 months, and they were like, this is the best thing we've ever done. So we figured out how to do stuff.
Yeah.
But that was an example of IT, supply chain, Tom Muccio, the stores are the profit centers. So what? That's not. No, you don't understand. Listen to me.
That was the power of the team.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew their square, but we had no idea of how the difference. It's like a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. If you put the picture the outside of the box, everybody had a piece. If you put the pieces together, you got what the picture looked like, or we wanted it to look like.
Wow.
So, did it work? What were the business results? Did Walmart win and P&G lose? Did P&G win and Walmart lose? What were some of the business results on both sides?
I think there's so many. I'd be here all day. But we together we built the business from $350 million. 15 years later, when I retired, it was $8 billion. That starts to be real money where I grew up, and that's like a 27% compound annual growth rate. And in 2003, the P&G Walmart business alone would have been a 234th biggest company on the Fortune 500 list. Just our relationship together. When we started, Walmart was losing 5% on P&G goods. Profitability, partly because of the stores being the profit centers, partly because of comping, partly because of the way we did our promotion money. We didn't do net down pricing at the time. It was high-low. When I retired, the margin was 15 positive. So it's 20 margin point difference. And on $8 billion, that's $160 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we've had scores of innovation breakthroughs. We created industry standards. But one of the biggest things was the people development. Because both companies were the people working together, someone took the veil away, and we could see a much bigger picture. Every one of the team members from Walmart became officers of the company. And they all said one of the big reasons they were able to do that is because of what they learned. And P&G, we had the same thing. I mean, the growth was just enormous on the people. And then both companies were able to reapply the learning. Walmart was able to reapply to other suppliers. P&G was able to. So it was, we were inventing and then reapplying. So it was a wonderful dynamic that we created.
Wow.
Tom, we've you retired in 2005. 2003. So sorry, 2003. Let me start that again. Tom, you retired in 2003. And from the day you retired, we gave you your 6 or 12 months of, go lay on the beach and dictate on the beach or whatever you wanted to do. And a year later, we said, Tom, when are you going to write a book about this? The world needs to hear this story, Tom, and you were the one that led this story. Well, I can finally announce, yes, we've actually written a book, and you have written a book. Tell us about the driving factor about writing that book, what it's called, when it's available, all that kind of stuff, because you do a really good job of laying out the entire relationship history.
Well, the book is called Collaborative Disruption, which is descriptive in and of itself.
It is.
It's available for pre-order now. It'll come out in the 1st of November. And the beauty of the book is I go into the backstory. What was happening in both of these companies at the time that then they got together? We started dating, so to speak, and then how did that play out it's been now going on for 35 years, and it's still successful year after year after year. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. And so I wrote the story because it's really a transformational story for the industry and beyond about collaboration, the power of genuine collaboration. Also, I wanted to highlight the courageous leadership at the top of both companies that was required to make it happen, and the unbelievable courage and effort of the people on Walmart and P&G, the pioneers who actually made it happen. It's their story, and it deserved to be told. The other reason I wrote it is I'm really a zealot for collaborative relationship. They're just so much better way of leading business and developing people. And I had really kind of like 5 audiences in mind. One was CEOs. I wanted to challenge them at the opportunities that they're leaving on the table by not working strategically or not working collaboratively with their strategic customers and suppliers. 2, anybody who's leading a team, because the dynamics of both teams together and the individual P&G team, great lessons there, great lessons to aspiring leaders. It's a history book as well. It's kind of like, inventing the light bulb or making cars on an assembly line. I mean, it was something that happened in history. Plus, I think we made it a really good read. I think if you picked up the book in the airport and read it on a plane, you wouldn't be disappointed. You'd find it because there's plenty of humor and it's a lot of truth in there as well. True stories, but they're humorous stories as well.
Tom, congratulations on the book. We're excited. We're excited for you to pick it up. And we'll make sure we'll share all that information with you on our podcast and plus our website and all that. We'll do that because we want you to pick up the book. But Tom, I think what you have done, you have, and thank you for bringing that story, because we learn through great stories. That's how we learn. That's how we remember. That's how we retell. Critical points is through stories.
Right.
And I think this is a book, Tom, that it's a story,
right,
as you said. And as leaders, beginning or wherever you are in your career, this is a story that can help you move forward through almost any obstacle.
You're right.
And because you had so many obstacles in front of you, you and your team. And so, Tom, what you did, you and your team at Procter & Gamble, the team at Walmart, you all also created the next generation of suppliers to Walmart and Sam's relocating to Northwest Arkansas.
Right.
Now, we live here. This is a great area.
Right.
And the supplier community is phenomenal. It's over 2,000. It could be 3,000 today of suppliers that are here supporting Walmart and Sam's. without your story, that would not be possible today. And I will tell you, Walmart or Sam's probably wouldn't be as successful as they are today, nor would these supplier companies be successful.
That's right.
But you said something too that I thought is just needs repeating, is that look at the lack of learning. That's the biggest thing, the lack of learning that would not took place. The lack of developing leaders you mentioned that would took place because of this decision and the success of that you've done. So as we think about now over 2,000 plus suppliers here in Northwest Arkansas serving Walmart and Sam's, and now we know where Walmart is today. It's unbelievable. Right. Their future is unbelievable. As I just mentioned at the top of the show, we spent a lot of time on omni-channel here doing business in Bentonville. And as I mentioned, Walmart, $100 billion in e-commerce alone last year, 30% quarterly growth on top of 30% growth quarterly. Right now, it's unbelievable what's happening at Walmart and Sam's. So, what would Sam Walton think? What did he vision this? What do you think when Sam brought all of you? You know, he was very instrumental in getting you together, supporting this. What do you think of it? What would Sam Walton think today?
Well, I think he thought that if he could get P&G to change, that would lead to other people changing.
Right.
None of us envisioned all these teams coming down here. And when a couple of the success drove, a few other people wanted to come down. And I remember Walmart sending out a memo: you do not have to relocate your people here. We're not looking to do that.
Yeah.
You put your people where you think that. But because of the success, you had to do that. And then now you got the same thing at Target. You got the same thing at Costco.
Yeah.
I mean, it's now a way of doing business in the industry of having multifunctional people get together face to face and innovate, test things, try things. And again, as Mike mentioned earlier, that we had one of our CEOs, A.G. Lafley, codified it. He said there's two moments of truth. The second moment of truth, P&G always focused on how well does our product work versus our promise when you take it home. But the second moment of truth, which is really the first moment of truth, is what happens in store when someone's trying to make a decision on what product to buy. Well, you can't win the second moment of truth unless you win the first one. But that then helped Walmart and P&G codify. We're going after the same customer. It's the same person. And they have, Walmart wanted to make it a pleasant, that was about the experience and whatever. And then when the products were sold, we wanted to make sure that our product was the winning product in the home.
So many defining moments.
Yes.
So many that it really changed the industry. It changed everything, is what you're describing. And with these, again, I just go back to the principles you laid out. You know, they're simple, but yet they're complex, but yet they're the truth. And because of great leadership in both companies, they were able to accept the truth and then do something and change.
Yeah.
And Sam always taught us, you know this, Michael, Sam always taught us the most consistent thing in Walmart was change. And he asked me one time when I was running human resource, he said, "AD, can we put change on the valuation?" You know, I went, "Let me get back to you. We need to talk to you with our attorneys, of course, but let me get back to you on that." But that's how much he believed in it. We wanted to evaluate people on change because he knew that was the critical piece of all of us being a student of change and change being consistent. We just never stayed in the same thing.
Yeah, Walmart was known for having a low resistance to change.
Yeah, but you blew that up too. I mean, that's the other thing. You used that.
Well, the beauty of it was the strengths of each company.
Yeah.
For instance, Walmart, we used to laugh when we said Walmart is ready, fire, aim. Okay?
We were. Okay.
P&G was ready, aim again, change the scope, aim again, and fire. Now, there's strengths in both of them.
Yeah, there is.
The closer you get to the target, the more bullseyes you'll get.
Wow.
So doing analytics and that's good. But if you don't get, you don't teach swimming by reading a book. You got to get in the water.
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
And we were able to take the strengths of both companies. I mean, I learned so much at Walmart. I for the first 5 years I was here, I attended every Saturday morning meeting except when I was on vacation.
I remember you always at those Saturday morning meetings. And
I was the only supplier there.
You were, and I was wondering about that. But then they begin to share. The merchants begin to share with us at our Friday merchandise meetings. They begin to share with us after some period of time that you all were working some success. They talked about the overall approach the merchants did, but they waited a period of time, and then when you all begin to make some success, to begin to talk about it. And to begin to share the ideas at the merchandise meetings. Then with the Saturday, I think Sam called on you a few times.
Yes.
I've recalled Sam calling on you a few times at Saturday morning meetings to talk about what you were doing. But again, if you think back, and as again for our viewers, that's the communication, the sharing of information, this try fix it idea. That was all what was happening, and the support that was happening throughout the organization. All the people in the organization, ultimately you had to get the support of our store managers.
Right.
And you all, and that's just a great story. But there's so many more stories. I know, Michael, we need to talk about some other great people that was part of this.
Absolutely. So I think the one thing that to me, whether it was Sam Walton or now Doug McMillan, they both have an absolute tenacious for change.
Yeah.
And it's just not to change. The reason you want to change is because the customer changes. You think about 1980, Kmart and probably Sears were the number one and number two retail. Well, for all practical purposes, they're not around anymore. So the reason for change is not to just change. The reason for change is to continually try and meet that customer's demand. I think you stay ahead. Once you slip behind and not keep that in front of you, you're going to be in trouble. Well, I think the one thing that I want to make sure that we hit is we actually had when Mr. Sam passed, we had Lee Scott become his CEO. And when, Tom, you actually invited him to our P&G Walmart team huddle, probably had 100 people or so in the room. And Lee came in and said, let me tell you my side of this whole P&G Walmart story, from the float trip to the total quality training to all that kind of stuff. And we're actually very fortunate to have that video. So we're going to play that video now and see some of the things that he captured as some of the key learnings.
Great.
The P&G, I was in that first meeting. It's one of the great thrills in my business career to have been in the meeting in Cincinnati with Sam Walton and the P&G leadership, and to see this thing start from what was an adversarial relationship that was built upon each company doing only what was good for them and absolutely having no tolerance for any kind of cooperative effort. And I've seen it evolve into individual relationships that many of you have with people that are really friendships. And it has made a difference at Walmart. It's made a difference in the relationships that we have with other suppliers. And if you think about us being the world's largest company and the criticism we get for our failures and the criticism we get for our supplier relationships when we have a failure, think of what the circumstances would be today at Walmart had we not made the kind of improvements we did make, and had we not developed the strong relationships that we do have, whether it's with yourself or the Gillettes or whoever else. Fundamentally, that meeting changed Walmart stores in many ways and made us a better company. I will tell you also, I believe that it made P&G a better company. P&G had great products, they had great marketing, but they knew both of those things. And that's really, really dangerous for any of us.
So, Tom, obviously that's pretty impactful. From his side of the story, what's your thoughts on some of his comments that he made?
Well, he makes the point, which is such a valid point. What we did made both companies better by themselves. Mm-hmm. And then when you put the better together, it really was explosive. Mm-hmm. And, we've done this globally now. We've got P&G Walmart teams all around the world, every place that Walmart operate. We've got people working at the various omni-channels. So we are, so Lee was just spot on. And he was, for the 15 years I was there, I got to work with him through various assignments he had up through and including his CEO. And, as an example, he and I would meet once a quarter in his office, brown bag, and we'd spend a couple hours together talking about trends, business results, implications. I mean, if it was today, Lee and I would be talking about what is the impact of deflation and what do we need to do differently as prices come down.
Yeah.
That's the kind of things we would talk about. And then we would say, well, why don't we test this or why don't we test that? And so it was a fabulous relationship. We used to take the C-suite from both companies. So you'd have finance people talking with finance people. We called them top to tops. And then once a year they'd get together and they would compare. Well, here's what how are you handling this? And so we're peer companies. Here we're peer companies. So if we could share data on recruiting, people development, career pathing, executive compensation. I mean, there's just so many things that are beyond just the buying, selling of product.
I think we had P&G people come to Walton Institute.
Yeah.
I remember correctly.
Yes.
And I remember as a store manager going to Walton Institute and then all the way up being in charge of it. But I remember, we would have the first group I remember was a bank group. Our Best Bank group came. And then the next one, there'd be others. I think P&G was the first supplier group that came.
Yep.
And then others began to come. And because we seen the power of this learning together and this cross-pollination of ideas, it made both, as you said, make both companies better.
We had a P&G college that had offered various courses, and I had many Walmart executives go with me to a particular course that was be beneficial to them. And the CEOs, right on down, from Sam and John Smith right through, they would walk stores together.
Right.
They would visit in Cincinnati and go to the various labs and so forth. And so we developed a powerful friendship, as well. And then many things turned into industry standards. We would invent something together, and then we make it an industry standard. It's much more efficient for everybody.
Wow.
It was kind of like if you take routine stuff and first you simplify it, then you standardize it, then you mechanize it. And then you could spend your time on things where value added makes a difference.
Okay, Tom, one more time, the name of your book.
Called Collaborative Disruption.
Okay, such a great name. And that book's going to be available at Amazon, Walmart, wherever books are sold.
It's available for pre-order now.
Okay, well, let's do it. All right, there you go. Pre-order, and let's get that. I can't wait to read the book. Okay, and I know the author, so you're going to sign it for me, okay? So, but Tom, I will tell you, we have wonderful guests here at Doing Business in Bentonville. I can't remember a time that I've enjoyed more today to have you and Michael here in the studio talking about this, reliving this moments together.
Right.
But the thing about you all have discussed is this is something that we need to relive, to learn continual learning. One of the things that we all have learned, we have to be continual learners. With this book, with this information that you all have shared today, this is a continuing learning moment for all of us.
Yeah, there's gold in them there hills.
Yeah, yes.
But it's messy sometimes.
Yes.
It isn't easy.
Right.
And it takes effort to maintain it.
Yeah.
But by golly, it's worth it. The results speak for themselves.
Yeah. Tom, Michael, any last closing comments?
Well, for me, I'm just saying I would recommend people to think about the opportunities they have with collaborative relationships with their customers and suppliers, and that CEOs are willing to legitimately sponsor that kind of work and give people an opportunity to have a seat at the table, to be able to make some decisions, try some things. It's very powerful, and it's available. But as I said, sometimes it's messy, and it is not easy, and it's hard work to maintain, but it's really, really worth it.
Wow, it sure is. Michael, closing. Michael, thank you for being a co-host today. It's always good to have you in the podcast. You know, we talked about you and I doing more podcasts, so we got to get that done.
We do.
Okay, all right. So I wanted to call you out here on that. Okay, so
pressure zone.
Yeah, that's right. So any closing comments, Michael?
I think this has direct reapplication for lots of different businesses. I know that I've been very fortunate to take what I've learned and transfer that when I'm working with Nordstrom's or Dick's Sporting Goods or Kroger, and these principles work there as well. Multifunctional. I think we actually had a T-shirt once that says, the fact that we're a multi-sector, multi-brand, multifunctional is not the customer's fault. It's not their problem, right?
Yeah.
And so these are really complicated times, but you've got to be really focused on what's important. Make sure you keep your customer in front of you, because that person can, as Mr. Sampson, can fire you anytime by spending their money somewhere else. So to the degree you can do that, and obviously omni-channel is a great example of Walmart kind of being out front in that and thinking through that, not knowing where the customer is, but where they were going, the brilliance of that, and obviously all of the support that they got for that.
I've come up with another
Oh, this is good.
another term called corporate fog.
Yeah.
Corporate fog keeps the C-suite from seeing what it's really like to be a customer or supplier of their company. Yeah. And I joke and say, if most companies had to be a customer of their own, one of their top priorities would be find another supplier.
And, you know, I'll say, here's my thought on fog, corporate fog. You're exactly right. But, you know, when you turn your lights on brighter, you can't even, you see less through the fog.
Right.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
You know, it gets brighter, and now we're really on lost.
Yeah.
We don't know where we are.
Well, then if you use an airplane example, if it gets too foggy, best thing you do is you turn around and you fly back. Well, that's not exactly going to help you either, necessarily.
The other thing the fog is there, too, the people doing the work, they're waving their hands, but the C-suite can't see them. They're yelling, there are pain points here.
Yeah.
There's opportunities we're missing.
Yeah. That's
so
right.
you got to blow that fog away by legitimately working together. And that's the whole idea of a mirror. The one thing that Walmart was good at showing P&G how we were, and we were good at showing Walmart. There's some great things, but there was also some things we didn't do well, and things Walmart didn't do well. Right. But that was the truth. That was the element of truth. You look in the mirror and say, "Gee whiz, my hair is getting a little thinner," or whatever it might be. Yeah, because the mirrors don't lie.
Right. Sometimes you see the real problem when you look in the mirror. Yeah. Tom, can you come back sometime?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want you to, because I had like 4 or 5 ideas during this podcast I want to talk to you about after this. Hey, to all of our viewers and listeners, thank you. Thank you so much. You know, we want to thank you not only for listening and watching our podcasts, but we're right now, because of you, we're in 36 countries. We're reviewed in 36 countries. Thank you for that. Continue to share this on all the social media platforms. You know, we're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and beyond. So check us out there. Always check our website, too, because every day now we're updating information on our website. That's doingbusinessinbentonville.com. Thank you very much, everyone. Again, thanks, my guests. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.